Hello there, welcome to the continuation of my musical composition diary, and I'll talk a bit about rhythm. And this part that I wrote, it was a bit improvised, so this will be a less specific video, let's say. So how did I wrote this? I have a piece of paper and I try to focus, imagine myself as being in the audience and trying that the piece unfolds itself for me. And as you saw in the previous video or not, I wanted to start with a high note on the trombone. And I was imagining the note a half tone higher and then going back into the note. So this with the glissando. I was imagining this. So because I wanted a note and then half tone higher and then back to the note, and I'm using my mode that I discovered last video, the only possibilities would have been B, C, B and E, F, E. So it could be like I wrote, or it could also be here like E, F, E, but this is too high. It could have also been here, E, F, E, but then I think it wouldn't create the impact I wanted, because this impact of such a high note, it has a bit of right of the spring feeling. To reinforce, but I wanted to have a very big impact, so in the beginning, so I used the harp to do a kind of tremolando. Tremolando is a technique where you play the same note repeating many times the same note like this. It has this kind of effect, and it works better if you do it on different strings. So the harpist will not play the same note repeatedly. It works way better on repeated strings. And also the harpist with the other hand can do a kind of percussion on the body of the harp. So the harp also has a possibility of percussion, which is nice, gives a nice impact to it. So you notice, if you remember correctly my previous video, here I have a C flat and here I have C natural. So the harpist has to change here the pedal, but it's no problem, she has time to do it. She has a breath to change the pedal. I have a glissando, as you see written, as slow as possible, while the harpist is repeating the C. So like here in the middle you will see the quarter tones clashing with each other, which is quite a nice effect. And then here, when he finally hits the B, the trombone, the harpist plays the B, but not as a natural note. He plays it as an harmonic. Here it sounds octave lower because I wrote it octave lower, but actually when you write the harmonics, you write them an octave lower, but they sound an octave higher. It has a very simple explanation. It's a bit like the guitar. You write it in this octave because you play in this string, so the harpist is actually playing this string, but because she's playing an harmonic, it will sound an octave higher. So I have this very initial gesture, very simple, not many mathematics involved. And then I have oscillation, so I had the initial impact, and now that I arrived in the piano dynamic, I do again this sliding back and forth. This is just to explain the modes. This actually, the harp doesn't play anything here, the harp plays tacet, so she doesn't play here. And he goes back and forth with the glissandos. And why use the tuplets? Usually I like to write rhythms that convey the feeling of what is supposed to be played. Usually when I want this tuplet to sound very exact, I would write it like this. I would write it. Okay, so when I want the rhythm to be played in a very exact way, I would have written it like this. But I don't want to write it like this, because then you will be counting, and here, as you see in the beginning, it's senza misura ma lento, so without measure, without time or beat, but slow. And therefore I prefer to use this kind of notation. That's why I also use tuplets instead of doing something a bit easier, because here the performer, because it's so slow, you will never count, and he feels free with this rhythm. It's a rhythm that enables him to be free. In this place I finally write the pedals for the harps. This is the pedal system for the harp, just to explain you what this means if you're not familiar. Every line means a note, so these are the pedals. There are 3 pedals on the left side and 4 pedals on the right side, and I use a sentence to help me remember the order, and the sentence is: did Columbus bring enough food going America? This is the sentence that helps me remember the order. So the order is D, did, Columbus, C, bring, B, E, enough, then food, so F, then G, going, and A, America. This is the way to remember the order of the pedals. So the pedals on the left side are D, C, and B by this order. So this is D, and so the D is at the normal. So it means that it's not flat or sharp. The C, it's up, so it means it's flat. The B is down, so the pedal is down, it means it's sharp. Actually, the sharp notes are higher and the flat notes are lower. But when the harpist presses the pedal down, actually the note goes higher. When it presses the pedal up, the note goes lower. So it's a bit it's a bit counterintuitive, but that's how it is. So the E is sharp, the F is sharp, the G is flat, and the A is flat. And these are the notes that the harpist, this is the translation of this, the notes that she has to program before she actually starts playing. And then it's quite easy because she programs this and then she can play the piece. So here is the same thing but faster. So we are going a bit faster in rhythm, actually twice as fast, and a bit lower in register. So we are going down in register. And of course I maintain the half tones. And this gesture is a bit to wake up the audience, because they think, oh, okay, I'll sleep now with this glissandi, and then the harp is like, ta-da! And she dampens the strings, and it feels like a surprise, like it helps keep the listener a bit more engaged with the piece, to scare them once in a while with these sudden moves. Then we continue, now in the forte dynamic, we do diminuendo. Here, this is actually a unison, because this is C flat, which is the same as B, and it sounds an octave higher, so it sounds actually this B. It's a bit to give a pronunciation into this B flat. We start to have a little bit more of the beat. You can see that the arpeggio is doing pam, pam, tam, cham. So it's quite regular, while the trombone is a bit improvising. And we end with a crescendo on the C. This was a bit the free moving part. Now I wanted to introduce a bit of the rhythmical elements. Here I was using the notes from the original mode. So all these chords, they are notes of this mode. And why I chose these notes and not others? So if you notice, the trombone is going from B, so is playing B and C, and here F and E. So the harpist is playing the other notes of the scale. So she's playing G sharp and D, which are the notes that the trombone didn't play. Here is playing G sharp, notes the trombone didn't play. Here is playing E F, which the trombone will play later, and then D, and then D at the same octave, and then here we have E, because F flat is the same as E, and then D, and then B sharp, which is the same as D. So actually it's a easier chord than it looks. It's E, D, C. Quite consonant. I like it. It sounds like this. It resolves into this chord, which is quite nice. And the trombone is playing the F and the B, which are notes that are not present with the chord, which is something that I'm achieving for, which is that I have no octaves, or almost no octaves, so that I'm not going, if for example the F is here in this octave, I'll not play the F in another octave. Why not? Because it's a bit redundant. It doesn't give any new harmonic information. When I put new notes in the harmony, they give me more harmonic information. I'll stop the video for now. This was just the first part, the lyrical with free rhythm, and then I will introduce the next part in the next videos. Bye!